The other day, I published a video, and the topic of the video was 2021 updates for private investigators and private investigations personnel. Make sure that you press the bell notification button. It looks like a little bell symbol on YouTube. That way you don't miss an important legislative update, such as the one that I published a couple of days ago. So thank you very much for subscribing if you're on this channel already. I also want to thank Don, one of the subscribers. He watched the video for the 2021 updates. He noticed that I did not have the Assembly Bill number yet because this is a brand new legislation. 5 days ago, he barely authored it, Chris Holden did, and it's Assembly Bill 229. But Don, thank you very much for helping this channel out and directing me to what the bill number is. Now that we have the bill number, we're able to hold those accountable a little bit more, and we're able to read and see what in the world this bill has in store for us, private security and private investigation professionals. The bill, for the most part, and I'll leave a link in the description, tells us that there was an incident in Sacramento. There was a game, a basketball game, and somebody ran into the court, was subdued by security professionals who applied, I think knee or leg, I think it was knee pressure to the side of the neck. 4 other security officers grappled this fellow, and it looks like he may have died from maybe positional asphyxiation. Okay, you're not supposed to put all that pressure down on somebody for such amount of time as they did, and he ended up, the man ended up dying as a result. I want to make something clear that I don't think it's right for anybody, law enforcement, anybody to kill somebody, especially in such a horrible way. I am totally against excessive force, but I also want to bring forward in this video, you don't have a right to break laws, and you don't have a right to run into a basketball court. If you run into a basketball court, you're going to be tackled and subdued by security officers or police officers, and they're going to have to use a reasonable amount of force on you. If it goes excessive force, well, they're going to be held accountable for that. But on the other side, don't be putting your friends or yourself in such a position where you're going to have to call upon the training and experience of private security professionals, and that training experience, there might be a lack thereof, and you might die as a result. Bottom line is this: don't put yourself in those positions. Another thing is, we need to be cognizant on the laws that are being passed. So in AB 229, I did read it, and it basically says that the state of California wants BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services, to consult with POST, that's the Peace Officer Standards and Training Organization, to develop a training program so that security officers don't use excessive force. Now, the carotid restraint, and the carotid restraint is when you apply pressure to both sides of the neck. Okay, not in the front here. You're gonna kill the person if you apply pressure over here. Okay, you don't want to break the trachea, but you apply pressure here in such a hold, it puts it restricts the level of oxygen to the brain, and they end up losing consciousness temporarily. Almost 99.9% of the time, they do not die, but that's a technique that's banned now. I have personally never used the carotid restraint. I've been trained for it. I see the utility of it, especially when you're fighting with a combative person. I think it's a technique that should still be an option to law enforcement, but I can almost guarantee that that option is going to be withdrawn for private security professionals. So it's either you use lethal force. Well, actually, carotid would be under the lethal force option. So it's either you use lethal force against this person that's resisting arrest, you use less than lethal. There's really nothing in the middle. And carotid restraint was never lethal It was never designed to be used as lethal force. It was in the middle to restrain a combative person. That's exerting so much force that force is totally necessary to gain compliance. Other techniques, baton, you name it, it's a lot more brutal than the carotid. Anyhow, that's just my personal take on that. So I could see that going away in the private security, the powers to arrest manual. I could see that just vanishing. My problem is it not vanishing. My problem is the overreaching of California legislators on the day-to-day operations of private security and even private investigation personnel. It's the overreaching portion that drives me nuts. So they're able to restrict or actually deny us the use to use a carotid restraint. Well, that's not a good idea. There's other things that are going to be in the works next. So almost sure that Gavin Newsom, as usual, he's going to sign this bill into law, and your powers to arrest training manual, it's going to change. It's going to change around. You might need another use of force course. So in California, you have to do 4 hours of powers to arrest and 4 hours of weapons of mass destruction. I would not be surprised if they add on another 4 hours or 2 hours for use of force. Okay, and all they really have to do, in my opinion, is just add in there that if you apply pressure with a knee or other device to the back of somebody's neck, you can kill them. Even a carotid restraint, if you don't let go in time, you can also kill a person. Maybe something to that degree is necessary, but seriously, a lot of you guys need to start using some common sense. What do you think is going to happen when you apply knee pressure to the back of someone's neck and then you have 4 people in there? People, we need to use some common sense. If we don't use common sense, we're going to get people out there like Chris Holden that are going to legislate common sense into the laws. And we do not need more laws. Why do we need thousands of laws available? There's so many laws right now in the books that it's driving me nuts. Okay, whatever happened to the basic laws? You know, 10 Commandments: don't steal, don't rape, don't murder other people, treat everybody like they want to be treated. I mean, that's the golden rule. You know, don't interfere with things that aren't yours. Whatever happened to that? The basic laws. Okay, create 10 laws, 20 laws, 100 laws, but there's so many laws out there, it's just crazy, and especially the gun legislation. It's hard to keep up. The Department of Justice probably doesn't even know all of the laws that are in the books right now. There's so many, there's loopholes, there's just so much laws in the book. So if we don't police ourselves, if we don't use common sense, legislators are going to legislate common sense into the laws. And that's just the nature of the beast. If you have any comments, please comment below. I always appreciate you guys' comments. Those of you that are totally against the carotid restraint, really like to know why, and maybe if you used it before. Generally, people that are against the carotid restraint haven't been trained with it. They're not familiar with it, and they have never used it, or they had never been in a violent confrontation. And I'm not talking about just a push and shove into high school. I'm talking about a knockdown, drag-out fight. I just want to know what your perspective on these things are. Have a nice day and be safe.